As each doctor I discovered was a bigger moron than the last, there were a few scenes in some doctors' offices until I got what I wanted, and I fired some doctors. I wrote some letters to the American Medical Association, and you know I'm not lying. It was, you're giggling on the other side. They know it's true. I was an angry young woman, and I wasn't angry about POF per se. I was angry about not being treated correctly. So I strongly encourage anyone I meet that, you're a consumer. And this goes for anybody with anything. You are a consumer, and the healthcare provider is providing a service. If you don't like the service you are getting, you cannot communicate with the person. You must go somewhere else. You owe it to yourself to find the person you can communicate with.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, if you go to a restaurant and they bring you the wrong thing, and half of it you told them to leave off because you were allergic to it, you're not just going to sit there and eat it and think, well, they brought it, I should just eat it.
Right.
I mean, you're the patron, you're paying, and you should get what you want. And if you're not getting what you want from a doctor, then you should go to another doctor, because there's so many doctors out there. I think now with nobody having health care, there's more doctors than patients. They're just kind of sitting around like guys on the car lots right now. So go find a good one and give them some business. And now they're not too busy to have a 5 or 10 minute chat with you afterwards, because no one's coming in for 3 hours. Now's the time to get the doctor's ear in this lousy economy. It's the Sheena Metal Experience on LA Talk Radio. Quick break, and then we're right back with you with much more about the International Premature Ovarian Failure Awareness Association. We'll be right back.
Discovering Sheena Metal.
Your period is a vital sign. If you are a woman under 40 and your period has stopped or is irregular, you may have a condition known as premature ovarian failure, or POF. Other symptoms of POF include infertility, hot flashes, and fatigue. If you have any of these symptoms or know someone who does, please visit our website for more information at www.pofsupport.org. Remember, your period is a vital sign.
Brought to you by the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association.
You're listening to the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, only on LA Talk Radio.
That's right, it's the Sheena Metal Experience on LA Talk Radio. For more info on the show, SheenaMetalExperience.com, LATalkRadio.com. Don't forget to email me and let me know what you think of the program. And to call and talk to us live, it's 818-602-4929. That's 818-602-4929. In the studio with me all this hour, the Experience's resident rock and roll nurse, Suzanne Groff, and she's brought along with her fellow board members from the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association, or IPOFA, and that's Catherine Korp and Nicole Damberg, and it's so great to have these girls here talking about awareness and the importance of awareness for premature ovarian failure. All three of you have premature ovarian failure, and all three of you are also registered nurses. Were you all nurses? Suzanne, you were a nurse after your diagnosis.
Long.
Catherine, were you a nurse before or after?
Oh, way before.
Okay, so you were a nurse and you still didn't know what was going on with you.
Oh, I'm embarrassed to say I had no idea, and I was also working very close to the National Institutes of Health, saw patients who were in the same building 2 floors away. Never even heard of the diagnosis before.
Wow.
Or completely forgot about it.
Well, I think sometimes when you're in the medical profession, you're so busy healing others that you look at yourself last. And
well, that's very nice of you to say. I don't think that was it, but
it's also, was so rare. I mean, we live in the hyper-information age now with the Internet, and before, not so much. And really, it's still being quoted as 1 to 4% of the female population has POF, probably underreported at this point, but that's 250,000, between 250,000 and a million women. So it wasn't, it's not a lot of people when you think of the whole population either. So,
But that is a lot of people. 1 in 4 women?
1 to 4%.
Oh, 1 to 4%. Okay, that's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
But still, it's a lot of people comparatively when you think about all the people in the world that have various diseases. It's a large population. I mean, if 1 to 4% of the population is millions and millions of people. And it's sad that a lot of them don't know about it, and especially places where there's not terrific medical care around the world, or even in this country places, people don't know what's going on with them, and that's a shame.
Yeah, well, I think it's, and chime in, ladies. I think it's probably grossly underreported, and and I've talked with several practitioners about this at different conferences. It's like the question is, how do you capture the true number? That's a tough one, especially when diagnosis doesn't come as quickly as, some of our more common diseases and disorders.
Well, and also because it's not it's not like if you have fibroids or you have an ovarian cyst the size of a football where you can actually feel it, see it, and they need to go in and take it out. Right. Nothing necessarily needs to be taken out originally. It just ceases to work. It's still there and it looks fine, but it's not doing anything. So that's a whole different thing than if they did an ultrasound and there's something in there, or they can see something's wrong, or they can see a tumor or a cyst or adhesions or lesions. All of that stuff is oh my God, there it is, take it out. But when they scan it, it looks pretty much okay. It just isn't working, and I think that's hard for people to comprehend. And I think in kind of where our medical awareness is at right now for all things, we're starting to learn to look past. Okay, we didn't get it in the first scan. That doesn't necessarily mean something's not wrong. You need to keep looking. Not everything is as easy to find as a cyst or a tumor.
Right, and symptoms mean something. It's like we say in the PSA, your period is a vital sign. Everyone gets a nice little chuckle out of that. But in all sincerity, if you're in reproductive years and your period isn't regular, something isn't right. Now, we're not sitting here saying that everybody is infertile if your period is skipped once. That's not what we're saying. But, it is such an integral part of the physiology of a woman. So if your period's going, wonky, that's the technical term, wonky, you need to get it checked out. Simple as that. You need to get it checked out, because going and doing your play and ignoring what something's not wrong is no bueno. You need to do something about it.
Ovary ate itself because it was angry at me because I neglected it. And it freaked out and ate itself from neglect. So
no, it might not be that either, girls. I don't want people clutching their stomachs and running to their doctor in droves right now. But you do need to get it checked out. It's not okay to not have a period for a few months randomly in the middle of your reproductive years. It's not okay.
No matter what the reason is, whether whether it is psychological or whether it is anxiety induced or it is a pituitary problem or it is because you're malnourished. Whatever it is, it shouldn't be so bad that it stopped your period.
Yeah. I went 8 or 9 months before I went to a doctor because I was a foolish young girl who didn't know any better. And I'm not excusing myself, but, I'm not throwing stone. I'm not dictating to people like I'm so perfect, because I didn't go to a doctor for 8 or 9 months. So there you go.
Wow.
Not a good plan, folks.
This is the day when I learned you weren't perfect. You've been telling me you were for 20 years.
I know, my God.
So, Catherine, what is kind of your plan for where you're taking IPOFA? I mean, what kind of things would you like to do with it in the next 5 years, the next 10 years?
Well, in 10 years, really, I will have a walker, so I'd like to get some new blood on the board. And I would like every single person in the world to know about problems with the reproductive system.
I think that's fantastic.
And that's a tall order. Is that really going to happen? But girls really need to know how their reproductive system works. If you look at a menopause book, they all start off with, this is the way your menstrual cycle worked when you were of reproductive age. And I think that's really when most people really understand, is when they're going through menopause, what was supposed to happen.
Oh, yeah, and then realizing sometimes it didn't happen that way.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
And isn't that interesting how we spend so much time as women so focused on menopause? I have friends I can't even say it around. I call it the M word because they're so worried about it. Yet now that we're not in it yet and stuff is still going wrong, we're paying no attention to it because we're too busy panicking about menopause. I mean, it'd be like if a killer was running rampant in your house and you were completely ignoring it because you were panicking about when a comet might hit it. I mean, you need to worry about what's going on now, and what's going on with your body today, not what's going to happen when I'm 70. Because the bad things are definitely going to happen if you're not treating where you're at now. Nicole, what about you? Where would you like to see IPOFA go in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, definitely the awareness, increasing the awareness so it becomes more of a common term like menopause, and that people are okay talking about it. And so consequently, then doctors would diagnose quicker, and we wouldn't have to go 5 to 7 years before our diagnosis and have all the health ramifications to go along with it. So I would just like, ideally, a woman has symptoms, she goes in to her healthcare provider, they run tests, she gets her diagnosis, and then she can start managing her treatment for that. So just all around increasing awareness to help educate the population so people can get their diagnosis quicker and the treatment. So. And
Nicole, were you a nurse before you got diagnosed?
No, I was not. I was actually a healthcare, health educator for about 10 years, and then I got my diagnosis, and I took that as an opportunity to, well, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm not going to be having children. It doesn't feel right at the time. I don't want to make a snap decision. What I really want to do is go back to school and become a nurse. It's a nice complement to the health education degree that I had. And this way I would be able to take care of a whole bunch of people instead of just one or two.
I think that's beautiful. And Suzanne, what inspired you to want to become a nurse?
My work with IPOFA.